Hey guys, it's William, welcome back. Today I'm going to share with you my basic and amazing all-time favorite carrot cake recipe. Finally a recipe with some vegetable or fruit in it, to be honest. And it's amazing, you are going to love it. It is quite simple and it is definitely my go-to recipe when it comes to making carrot cake. Exactly what I expect from a carrot cake to be. So I hope that you will like it as much as I do. So let's get right into it. Alright, so first of all, I'm going to start by doing all of the things that annoy me with this recipe, which is basically, first of all, to butter a cake pan. It is something that I never really enjoy to do, so let's get rid of it as soon as we can. And I'm just going to butter a 20 centimeter, so 8 inches cake pan that I'm going to then cover with some parchment paper just to make sure that everything comes out easily. And then I'm going to peel my carrots, and once they're peeled, I'm going to grate them rather finely, and finally we'll roast our pecans. For my nuts, I'm actually going to use a combination of pecans and walnuts that I'm going to roast just to intensify their flavor in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 5 to 10 minutes, not even, just to make sure that they are roasted and that their flavor is on point. And then we can finally take care of the cake batter. Time to take care of our cake batter, and I'm going to start by whisking together my whole eggs. These are large eggs, of course, always in my recipe. And I'm going to add to them some granulated sugar. You can definitely use some cane sugar, and whisk everything until super pale and fluffy. This will take about 2 minutes on quite a high speed, and then I will add some vegetable oil. Once I've added the oil gradually, I'm going to add, of course, our grated carrots. There's quite a lot of it actually, since I love my carrot cake to have a lot of carrots in there, because otherwise it shouldn't be called a carrot cake for sure. And it gives such an amazing moisture to everything. And then I'm going to add another important ingredient when it comes to carrot cake, and I do think that it is canned pineapple. They not only bring a subtle and nice flavor, they also bring moisture and just amazing texture in the end. So this is why I'm using them, and I'm going to mix with my whisk. If you want to leave out the pineapple, you can definitely replace it with some apple puree, for example. Try to use one with some pieces here and there, it's always nicer. And then for my dry ingredients, I'm going to use some very basic all-purpose flour, to which I'm going to add some baking powder and baking soda. This will make sure that our cake rises and is super tall. And then we will add a nice pinch of salt, of course, and some vanilla extract. And finally, some ground cinnamon, super important when it comes to making carrot cake, at least for me. And I'm going to mix that together just to make sure that the baking soda and powder are well distributed in the flour. And then we can sift them all up in our wet ingredients just to make sure that we don't have any lumps. Once that I've incorporated everything with my spatula, I'm just going to chop up my roasted pecans and walnuts until I have a pretty diverse consistency made out of very small pieces and larger pieces. You do you, but I really like different textures. And then I'm going to add everything to our preparation and mix one last time before dividing the batter into 2 different portions. As you can see, I really wanted to be precise, so I divided my batter into 2 and actually used the scale for that, just to make sure that I put the same amount of batter in each pan. And I'm going to bake 2 different cakes today to have 2 thick layers in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 25 to 30 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted in the center of the cake comes out clean. Pretty standard as always. And then you will let your cakes cool completely at room temperature before making the icing. While my cakes are cooling, I'm going to make now some gorgeous caramelized pecans and walnuts just to create that amazing look on top of our cake. And I'm going to first roast them like I did in the beginning of this video at 180 degrees Celsius for about 5 minutes. And then I will just create a gorgeous caramel out of water and brown sugar as well as a pinch of salt. And I'm also going to add some cinnamon just to remind that gorgeous flavor of carrot cake. And then I will wait for that to come to a bubble. Once I have a gorgeous and thick caramel, I'm going to add my roasted pecans and walnuts and mix with my spatula and then let them cool completely on a parchment paper covered baking sheet. Time to work on the frosting, and today I'm using my classic cream cheese frosting, which has a bit of a French accent to it since we're using some crème fraîche once again in all of my recipes almost. And I'm going to start by whisking my cream cheese here with then some crème fraîche, which is gorgeous and French, but you can definitely use some heavy whipping cream or some double cream if you live outside of France and it is quite difficult to find crème fraîche, which I completely understand. And then I'm also going to add some vanilla extract and whisk this until I reach a pretty thick consistency before adding the icing sugar. For my icing sugar, since our cream cheese in France is a bit creamy and not very thick and solid as the one you can find in the US, for example, I'm also going to add some frosting stabilizer in my icing sugar just to make sure that my frosting is super thick and stays out well in the fridge. And I'm going to sift all of this in our creamy mixture and mix one last time until I have a super thick and moussey frosting. Fun fact, I actually filmed the cake layers a while before assembling the cake, so I actually frozen my cake layers and I'm going to use them now almost still frozen since they can actually cool off when they have the frosting and everything is on. Sometimes it is actually easier to work with frozen cake layers or at least cold cake layers, and I'm basically gonna put half of my frosting on top of the first cake layer and smooth it really well with my spatula before adding the second cake layer. This is great. Now I'm just going to smooth everything out once again on top of our cake and create a gorgeous yet super simple design, since to me carrot cake should be a bit rustic and easy to make. It shouldn't be too complicated. And then we'll work on the nuts. For the caramelized nuts, I'm just going to chop in a bit more since they are quite solid and clumpy, and then I will just add all of them on top of the cake to create a rather spectacular look. And that's it. That's how I make my gorgeous and simple and rustic and full of flavor carrot cake. This recipe can frighten some, but don't worry, it is not that scary. There's only 2 layers and it is super easy to make since it is a naked cake as well. I hope that you will try it and give this recipe a go by finding the list of ingredients in the description of this video, so right underneath, as well as my social media, so Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't forget to like this video, comment, and especially subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content, and I will see you super soon for another amazing recipe. Bye!